Hello and welcome back to Shin's Call. This is the second video of my main series. It is not absolutely necessary to watch the previous video, but I will reference it, so keep that in mind. Today's topic will mostly be world building, focusing on three major aspects: the geography of Solaris, the sentinels and resonators. To keep in sync with the game, we will start our geographical exploration in Huanglong. There are two ways to split up this nation. You either look at it as outer and inner Huanglong, using the Mountains of Spirits as a natural border, or you divide it into 7 regions surrounding the 7 major cities. One of them is the capital, located safely in the inner Huanglong. Guaranteed is the safety by the mountain range separating it from places with high TD activity, like the Northfold Barrens. Naturally, there are mountain passes, allowing travel between inner and outer Huanglong in the first place. To protect this mountain pass, called the Gorges of Spirits, Jinzhou, the newest city of Huanglong, was built as a bridgehead and is now home to soldiers and refugees from Hongzhen. To list of other major and minor cities and/or regions mentioned in the game so far, there's Port Guizhou, which we already talked about enough during the Black Shore arc, Port Gunchao, Zhaozhou, where Baizhou was during the events of 1.1, Yuezhou, and Zhuzhou. If you are wondering why so many of these names end in zhou, that's because it's the Chinese word for prefecture, meaning every of those names is one of the 7 major regions. Other than Huanglong, we have the Black Shores, which lie not far off the coast of Jinzhou, the New Federation, and Renesita. Honorable mentions go to Petalfall Village. We already dealt with the Black Shores in the last video, so let's move on to the New Federation. To get more information about the New Federation, we can take a look at some characters coming from there. Specifically Mortifi, as his character profile contains the most information. Wait, what do you mean there are actual dragons in this world? They are extinct? Anyway, while there are no concrete facts about the Federation, we learn that they have a nobility system, as well as a societal focus and technology. We can also assume that his passion for classical music and afternoon tea stems from his background as a Federation noble. Combine those findings with his design clearly being inspired by Western dragons, and we can conclude that the Federation is based on Europe. In a similar fashion, Huanglong is based on China. Considering Renesita is based on Italy, it is very much possible for it to be part of the Federation, or at least geographically close to it. Speaking of Renesita, according to Kuro's promotional material, it is an archipelago. Other information we have about it are the existence of numerous speaking echoes, as seen during our first trailer, and a number of ancient ruins waiting to be unearthed by brave adventurers. The Venice-based Draguna is also confirmed to be our first location in the new area, bringing us new faces, colors, fashion, and a brand new sentinel. Wherever there is civilization and history, there will be sentinels. They serve as mankind's guardians and guides. Their mortal existence has helped humanity through countless troubles, sharing wisdom and prophecies. Also called oracle engines, sentinel are present in most major cities, not just in Huanglong, but in all of Solaris. Nevertheless, as one of the oldest and largest nations, Huanglong has the highest current number of sentinels to show, with a total of 7. So far we have only seen 1 sentinel in Jue, so we can only guess about the appearance of sentinels in general, but we can still assume certain characteristics to be common among all. The most likely to be shared should be the patterns and accents in luminous colors, giving them a celestial but also somewhat artificial look. I also take a guess and say dark base colors and sharp angles will also be a common theme, almost reminiscent of tacit discords. So, what are they now? Celestial beings? Artificial creations? Or a special form of TD? We already obtained a hint during the last video in form of the Black Shores device found by Yohu. It was used to monitor sentinels and names them as a major countermeasure against the element, and Frenodians specifically. This draws a clear connection to Tethys, introducing the possibility of sentinels being a creation and extension of Tethys itself. This is no concrete evidence, however, so we will have to look somewhere else. While we can't be certain about the visual characteristics, we do have confirmation about the types of creatures they represent. Based on the promotional material, we can identify Renesita's first sentinel to be a hippocamp, a fusion of horse and sea creature of Mediterranean origin. Huanglong sentinels on the other hand are said to mostly consist of longs, Asian dragons, Yus truly being a prominent exception of course. The game explains this with the fact that according to legend, all of Huanglong's sentinels came from the same being. Sadly we don't know what kind of being, so this also doesn't help us. As a last straw, we can take a look at their counterparts, the Freenodians. Being born of humanity's negative emotions, Freenodians are the pinnacle of tested Discord evolution. Their appearance brings disaster and necessitates full-on wars to take them down. According to another legend, there once was a being of divine power that defeated and absorbed a Freenodian, turning it into the first ever Echo. But what if, and hear me out on this one, if they not only turned it into the first Echo, but the first Sentinel? Think about it. Druid leaves a usable Echo when defeated, and according to scientific research, that's something only TDs do. Looking to Renacita, we also can confirm that Echoes are indeed capable of speaking. Keep in mind that the game also draws connection between Abbey and Echoes, so even they should originate from a TD. Given this assumption, it is not far-fetched to assume the Freenodian's Echo could have been repurposed to help Tethys in its work of protecting civilization from the Lament. Its Freenodian origin would also explain the need to monitor it. The question remaining would be what Freenodian was turned. The only one we know of would be the Overthrax, but this can't be the answer as it was defeated not long ago in the War of the Crescent, only leaving behind a giant shell of its body. The fact that the Freenodian leaves an empty stone-like shell after being defeated is important, so keep it in mind. For now, let's take a short trip to the southeast of Jinzhou, the island of Mount Firmament. Here we find another interesting piece of folklore. According to Rich, the court of Cervante once captured a monstrous being using the giant stone rings found across the island. We know nothing else, but it is still interesting to know that humanity had the technology to immobilize creatures the size of Freenodians. As a final excursion, we will acquire the missing link that will finally allow us to go full circle. A written piece of Jinzhou history talks about Zhue using a very interesting choice of words. The sentinel of Jinzhou, Zhue, represents one star of Qinglong. Qinglong, the teal dragon, is a mythical creature of great import. A creature of such import, it is used to represent the cardinal direction of east. It is also what Jian is associated with, drawing a connection to warfare. Phew, that was a lot, so let us summarize all we found out. There once was a Freenodian that was converted into an Echo. All of Huanglong's sentinels came from one being. Zhue is part of Qinglong, which is associated with the cardinal direction of east. The court of Cervante once captured a being of immense size on an eastern island. Freenodians leave behind stone shells of their body after death. Oh, I assume you noticed Mount Firmament is shaped like a giant long. See where I'm going with this? If we want further proof, we can even take a look at the Mianlong chamber. Ever wondered why it's filled with a teal colored liquid, even though its purpose is supposed to be to heal and stabilize the gold colored Zhue? Assuming that Zhue was created from Qinglong, it suddenly makes a lot of sense that the bath in the blood of its origin would stabilize the Sentinel. I hope I could convince you that the Sentinels are repurposed echoes of Freenodians. Makes you wonder, what influence has this on Jinchi, who gets her powers from one of them? Resonators are humans with special powers, allowing them to resonate with frequencies around them, be that objects, elements, living beings, or concepts. There are plenty of videos on the technicalities of resonators, so I won't go too detailed into bell curves, resonance awakenings and such things. What I want to focus on are the physical and internal changes resonators undergo. There are 3 types of events that have lasting consequences for resonators. The first one, being the first awakening, is when a resonator unlocks their powers, either naturally or while in a state of heightened emotion. This has no lasting physical consequences, but enables them to use their powers from there on out. However, also triggered by moments of strong emotion is what is known as overclocking. Mostly triggered by negative emotions like stress, overclocking is the moment a resonator loses control over their powers, often leading to hazardous conditions for them and their surroundings. Overclocking usually leaves physical alterations like scales, feathers and such. The last event is a secondary awakening, strengthening their resonance powers permanently. As far as we know, the process doesn't change the body in and of itself. There is, however, a high chance of overclocking due to severe stress. Let's take a look at all 3 of these events using Jinchi as an example. Her awakening happened during her infancy, when Tessa Discourse destroyed her home and she was saved by the Sentinel Zhue. It is unclear whether it was her resonance ability that summoned Zhue or if the moment of Zhue's intervention was the cause for her powers, but they are indisputably connected to the Sentinel. As such, her signs of overclocking are growing dragon scales and horns. To trigger her second awakening, Jinchi had to clash with Zhue, as only the overlaying of a resonator's frequencies and those of the original source of their power can further unlock their forte. While being somewhat of a special case, we can see a clear path she is following. a path that leads to her becoming more and more like Druid, not just in power but also in appearance. A path all other resonators are following as well, meaning all those feathers, scales and horns are signs of what people like Yang Yang, Mortefi and most importantly Kalchao are slowly turning into. The theoretical final form of a constantly overclocking resonator would be a being of turbulent emotion, representing an abstract concept of nature or humanity, like fire, dreams, or even war, depending on the nature of their forte. And what other could such a being be called in a tested Discord, or in Jinchi's case, a Phenolian? And so I ask you, what are resonators?